What's going on, everybody? I'm Kevin with Custom Night Vision. This is Austin. I found him in the depths of some deep, dark subreddit. Today we're talking about comms, most specifically helmet mounted ear protection, but let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is Comtacs. So if you're new here, we have Comtacs available on our website. If you're not new here, you've probably known about this for a while, but essentially what Comtacs are helmet mounted ear protection that double as a device to connect to your radio so you can listen and talk on your radio. This is very important when you're shooting around other people. It allows you to not just scream at each other, so that's really cool. We have a few different options available. We have them with or without a down lead. I recommend you buying them with the down lead. Just because you don't use a radio today doesn't mean you're not going to use one in the future. But we do have the Defender and the Comtacs available. They're both the 8th generation, I believe. So the Defender does not have a down lead. The Comtac does. Obviously, if you don't have a down lead, you don't need a microphone either. Austin, you want to tell us why somebody might want a radio?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Yeah, I love that Custom Night Vision, like you guys sell night vision, right? But you guys are more of like a whole head-borne systems provider, now selling Comtacs as well. And I like that you talked about kind of the different aspects of the Comtacs, right? Like saying that this is ear protection is kind of like saying night vision lets you see infrared light. That's true at a technical level, but that kind of short sells what all the systems are capable of, right?
I tend to agree.
Yeah, so there's actually 3 different things going on, right? You get your ear protection, which is important, protecting your hearing from loud noises, specifically gunfire, because we're usually shooting when we use night vision. You also get noise amplification, right? Similar to how we get light amplification with night vision. So we get an increased perception of the noise around us, right? These keep getting better and better. Their recreation of true life, stereoscopic sound reproduction keeps getting better and better. And so you get really good perception of quiet noises in the distance in addition to hearing protection. And then finally, the reason you invited me on is most of the time you get some sort of comms integration, right? And you know, I think it's kind of like male nature, especially when we always seek to emulate the professional end user. Like guys are gonna buy the one with the down lead, probably not with like a full picture of what it looks like to connect to this, right? And you know, like you alluded to, anytime we have the opportunity to use tools, we always want to leverage that and make the most of it. And sure, like a lot of guys out there right now, I'm sure own something like this or like the bigger UV-5R, like they at least have this in a drawer somewhere, right? And they want to be able to get the most out of it. We're just going to talk about bridging the gap between these two. So yeah, when we get into talking about radios, the most common question I get when it comes to, first of all, this is a standardized plug, right? This is on the Comtac 8s. This is on the Comtac 5s that I have here on this Epic Specialist that I got from Custom Night Vision. They're standard on the Ops Core amps. This is a U174 connector, and all that really means is that there's a standard plug and voltage and impedance that goes along with it, and the microphones that are attached to it.
I actually learned that today. I thought for years it was called a TP210.
Sure, yeah.
Where that was, I guess, annotated, if y'all put it in the comments and let me know why I thought this was called a TP210. I can't remember, but typically I use this to pick my nose.
Yeah.
That's actually not what it's for, so we're gonna learn that today. Together.
I usually put it somewhere else, actually.
Yeah, that explains the smell.
So, yeah, so there's a lot of confusion out there. A lot of the confusion that comes from like comms connectors actually come from the military space. People kind of overemphasize how many different variants of comm connectors there are out there. On the commercial market, which is the majority of the people that you serve with Custom Night Vision, they're gonna get this connector, right? This standard U174 connector. And I'm gonna give you guys the easy button answer right now. If all you want to do is connect your Baofeng UV-5R to your Comtacs that you get from Custom Night Vision, you're gonna go to Disco 32, you're gonna get their Kenwood 2-pin U94 PTT, and you're gonna be good to go. It gives you all the information on the website as far as which one to order. I believe it's the low impedance. Double check, it's on the product listing. But that's kind of like the easy button answer, right?
Is this the UV-5R?
Yeah, it's just a little mini UV-5R.
I didn't know that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know they made this.
Yeah. It's just an analog UV-5R. Yeah, so if guys are out on the range, the same reason we buy strobes, so that way we have additional situational awareness about where our guys are. You can deconflict and have a lot of additional safety if you're out shooting at night with guys. Maybe you're hog hunting and you have guys that are dispersed from each other. Just being able to communicate and be like, hey, I'm over here, we're moving, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this plan. You get a lot of advantages with that, right?
Yeah, we little side note, we use these a lot. Either radios like this, or I've been using this one a lot. These are cool as well because you can actually encrypt them. We'll get into that in a little bit, but when we go out hunting or whatever, we're going to be shooting guns in 2 different locations. We usually have at least one guy with each group that's on a radio. It's not uncommon for us to push animals from one side of a pasture to the other using people. So we can say like, hey, where are you at? Which direction can I shoot? You know, give me some kind of IR beacon so I know exactly where you are, lasso with a laser, whatever. This makes it a lot easier to communicate. And if you're already plugged into your helmet, it's easier than pulling out your cell phone. It allows you to talk to people like they're right next to you. So it's very convenient.
Yeah. Fire and maneuver is the concept that we would use like in the military sense of the term, but it's all the same thing, right? Like it's deconflicting for the sake of safety and synchronizing your efforts across, you know, any type of geographic span, right? So yeah, the easy button answer for the guys that have a drawer full of Baofengs, Disco 32, their U94, they still sell it. They have an upgraded version, the Constant Able, which is a really robust, well-built PTT. It's about $300. I'm not generally gonna recommend people spend that for their Baofeng. The U94 one's totally fine. It's like half the price.
I've been using one of those for like 10 years and it gets wet. It gets absolutely beat to shit and it still works. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's a great option.
This is also a great chance to talk about this. I don't know if the 8th generation still come with these, but for most of the generations of the Peltor Comtacs, something like this was generally included in the box, right?
When I bought my 5s, it came with one of those. I don't think we sell them with it, and I'm kind of glad because every set of Comtacs that I have that came with one of those, it got put in a box. I never used it because, as you're going to discuss, we don't have radios that can utilize that termination.
Yeah, exactly. So there are some radios out there. First of all, this is a NATO 6-pin connector. So when Peltor sells these, they're kind of anticipating this going to like an infantry level military user, right? Where they're going to have like a prick 148 or 152, and they just kind of make it easy by giving you this.
Like one of these things?
Yep, that's a prick 148 there. So I can show you, this would go in here. And this is set up to work with military radios, which I'm going to presume is not the majority of your commercial customers, right? So that's what it would look like, right? They kind of give you the whole system. There are adapters that exist out there to go from this to a Baofeng, but as you can see, like this is a very cumbersome.
It's robust.
Yeah, it's robust, but it's, you know, it's kind of a giant mass going into, like, after you add the adapter, it would be about the size of the radio itself. I really don't recommend guys going that route. If you want to experiment with it and try out an adapter, sure, go for it. But for most of you guys, if you did get this, this is going to be largely unusable unless you buy like one of the like LARP, like the Tri 152s that are just a Baofeng that look like a 152.
Yep.
But yeah, so answering the question, because guys probably get that in the box and they're like, what the hell is this thing?
You know what I call people that use these?
What's that?
Size queens.
Yeah,
it doesn't need to be that big.
No, it's obnoxiously large.
If you need stuff this big, you're the problem.
Yeah.
Call your dad.
Call your dad.
Continue.
Yeah, so let's say guys are, you know, they're on the Baofeng now, but they want to eventually make the step up to something encrypted, like the Hytera HV72s. We sell these with Mojave Repeater. There's some other variants out there. Another great option that I really push people towards, especially if they're people like us and like they're always evolving their equipment, I push them to the modular PTT that Comm Gear Supply sells. And if you could hand me that radio right there. What's nice about this is that this is a standardized, you know, modular pigtail, and they make adapters for just about every single radio in existence. They make adapters for the Baofengs, they make adapters for the Hyteras, as you can see here. They even make, you know, adapters going into the professional end user, the Man-A radios like this Silva Stringcaster here, right? So if you're wanting to future-proof your gear, the Comm Gear Supply PTT is probably the easy button answer. And then the other
first time I've seen one of those, pretty neat system.
Yeah, I hadn't really heard about them until a buddy recommended them to me, and I started, you know, interacting with the guys over at Comm Gear Supply. They're like, oh yeah, we make a modular system, and you can even get like little earwig leads that terminate to these adapters as well, which is pretty cool.
So if you don't mind me interjecting again.
Sure, yeah.
The reason this is cool is because I've used a bunch of different Baofeng radios. Depending on what I'm doing, I've used Motorola radios that were provided, and each one of those radios has a different connection type.
Yeah.
So these, you know, as much as I like these, the Disco 32 pre-terminated push-to-talks, like I said, they're pre-terminated for whatever radio you choose. So if you switch radios, you then have to switch PTTs. Not really a big deal, but if you're using a bunch of different kinds of radios, depending on what your job is or who you're operating with, and I mean, that could be even, you know, you're hog hunting with professional outfitters. They may have a bunch of Motorola's that they hand out to guys, and you would need a push-to-talk to use those. Otherwise, you're not plugged into your headset, and what that means is anytime somebody keys up on the radio, it's just blasting through the onboard speaker, which is not good if you're trying to be sneaky.
Yeah, the whole point we use is night vision is like there's some sort of like surreptitious nature to it.
Yeah,
right?
you want to be somewhat concealed.
Yeah.
So while these are affordable and robust, if you plan on using a bunch of radios or there's any reason you think you may upgrade radios in the future, that's actually a really cool system, because then you're just buying an adapter instead of a whole push-to-talk. Now, I don't know what the cost difference is between these push-to-talks and the adapters. That would have to be something you looked into, but
I think it's anywhere from like 40 to 80 bucks.
Okay.
And this is about, and this PTT and that PTT are about the same.
what are these, like 150 or something?
Yeah, about 150 bucks,
Okay,
yeah, depending
so-
on how it's terminated.
Your miles may vary.
Yeah, exactly.
It depends on what you plan on doing. Both great options, but
Well, and
like
the
I
reason
said-
I like this system, you know, especially night vision people are very segmented in the upgrades they make, right? Like they buy a nice set of night vision, but you know, they decide, oh, I'll start with a bump helmet so that way I can afford the night vision, right? And then eventually they get a ballistic helmet. Eventually they get nicer ear pro. Like the
or
people,
they buy all the nice stuff and then they buy NNVT tubes.
yes, that too. We have that every once in a while as well. But yeah, guys always do things in stages when it comes to like night vision systems. And so giving guys some things to consider on the modular side as far as information is something I really wanted to hit on. The other thing I like is like if you get, some people hate the coily cable. I like the coily cable because if I'm only gonna buy one thing, it gives me a lot of like flexibility on where I'm gonna mount it. Play character,
I
chest rig.
personally don't like it because I try to route all my cables, some like, I don't want to say concealed, but at least secure to the plate carrier, the chest rig that I'm running.
Yeah, retained.
Because I'm the guy that will jump out of a helicopter or a side-by-side and yard sail my shit because it was attached to something like this. I'm a large person. I don't fit a lot of places, so I have to keep everything as tight to my body as I can.
Yeah.
That I would absolutely destroy it.
Yeah, they do make straight cable variants as well. This is just happened to be the one I
assumed.
grabbed.
Yeah, but it again, that's user preference.
Yep, exactly.
That's cool. They have both options.
Yeah, and then they have the headphone out on them.
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
neat.
Yeah.
And you said they make this in a 1 or 2 channel?
Yeah, so this one, it's the same body. So both buttons do the same thing on this one. This one's a single channel one. But if you have a radio that supports like dual channels, like, you know, the Streamcasters do, some of the military radios do as well, they can actually be set up to where one was channel 1 and one was channel 2.
Yeah, what that means is you can have a radio and set up an A and a B channel in the radio, and then whichever button you hit on your push-to-talk is going to determine which channel you are broadcasting on.
I almost just fell over there.
And I think depending on the radio, you can set them up to where you're listening to both channels at the same time, and then you can broadcast on one or the other, which is cool.
Yeah, they call it dual watch, which essentially means, you know, there's an A and a B. Generally on the Baofengs, there's an A and a B.
This radio does have that.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that you brought this radio and you talked a little bit about kind of like the future proofing of this radio. I don't love this radio because I've spent some time programming it. The software is not the greatest, but for the sake of like a learning platform and kind of like thinking ahead to being able to do things like encryption, this radio, it's not just analog like a UV-5R is. This radio is actually DMR as well. So this is a DMR radio. We could program these two radios to talk to each other, which
With the same encryption keys.
Yep, with the same encryption key and everything. Yeah, so I like that you're already thinking about encryption. That's something that actually most people who aren't like a professional end user are thinking about right now. So that future proofing is a little nice. Why did you want encryption? Why don't we start there?
Yeah, that's a great segue. So these radios are great, right? It's analog. It works just like any other radio. You pick a frequency and you broadcast and listen over that frequency. So anybody that knows the frequency you're on can then tune in and listen. And if there's enough radios, theoretically, you could triangulate the location of these radios. It makes it very easily to infiltrate your operations, if you will.
Yeah, there's just really nothing as far as countermeasures. Yeah, exactly.
So the beauty of encryption, and obviously this is not like an end-all be-all, but it will definitely slow somebody down or inhibit them from listening into your communications. It lets you have more private conversations. It will also keep people from easily tracking where those radios are. Again, it just depends on the equipment they have. Any encryption, from my understanding, can be cracked with the right equipment if you have enough money, I guess. Sure. But it is a deterrent for other like individuals from just listening into your communications. So you can set up several different encrypted channels on these, and you can program a bunch of radios together. So rather than saying I'm on frequency 164.225 or whatever frequency you've chosen, you can say I'm on channel 1 to, I don't remember how many you can program into this, but I think
it was a couple hundred, I want to say.
Yeah, so my group of friends that we train with together, we all have these. And it was really because they're affordable, and it's because they're affordable, readily available, and one of the guys already had pretty significant experience with them, so we all kind of just chose to go this route.
Yeah.
But he programmed all of them for us, like identically. So it's pretty easy for us to talk, and we can plug these into, you know, larger antennas. We have repeaters plugged into them, so we live on all different sides of the city, and we've been able to talk to each other pretty effectively with just this affordable radio. Yeah. I don't remember what this one's called.
That is the DM32.
Yes, you are correct. Gotta turn it on.
Yeah, so again, right, like without getting into like TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures, or talking about, you know, using these in a type of like opposed environment, there's still a degree of warm and fuzzy you get with an expectation of privacy, right?
Yeah, to that point, I think that any environment we're in is now opposed.
Yeah.
So if you're not following what people are doing with like LoRa type devices, I mean, there's, I don't want to say government type people, but there's vehicles rolling around with Stingrays just picking up all your IP and RF traffic just to see where people are. They're documenting that. I mean, any extra level of security you can have on your communications is just going to be good. Because
yeah, there's weirdos everywhere. Whether or not they're, you know,
work for the government or not.
Or work for the government or not. Yeah, there's plenty.
It's good to have a semi-secure way to communicate with your friends in an emergency or whatever.
Yeah.
Without using your cell phone, without, you know, you're still broadcasting your location, but it is a less standard way of communication.
Yeah,
so there's
exactly.
a lot of advantages there. We could go down that rabbit hole another time, but
well, and it speaks to like the same reason why most people buy night vision, right? Like they want some degree of like insulation and autonomy in any sort of like uncertain times.
They really go hand in hand, and that's why he's here. That's why we're talking about this, because we sell night vision and we sell headsets, right?
Yeah.
Well, this is just like a natural progression of the same type of person. You know, the capability that you're going to want to add to your loadout.
Yeah. Well, and you guys service a lot of professional entities as well. So being able to be like a one system provider, like, hey, you don't just have to buy your night vision from us and get other things elsewhere. Like if you guys are doing a whole headborne system, we have your night vision, we have your mounts, we have your helmet, we now have your headsets that are going to go into, you know, a lot of these, like this professional equipment, you know, like the Man-A radios or some of the Motorola's, persistent systems, those are going to be dictated to a lot of end users. But being able to provide all the systems to, you know, make all that work and to just go on their head, that's a big deal too, because you guys have started servicing a lot of those professional entities.
And from our perspective, it's good for us to be aware of the things that they're using.
Sure.
Not that I'm going to cater the night vision they select to the radios they're using, but just when they're telling me about different situations they're in and they're talking about their comms equipment, I can at least understand and be like, no, man, that's not my thing. You're going to have to talk to the radio guy. I can, you know, from an equipment standpoint, say, yeah, I understand what you're doing and why this is important to you.
Sure.
So, we talked about encryption, why it's cool. Do you want to talk about some of the like the ecosystem, like all the different accessories that work with some of the stuff?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So like I said, we have certain accessories that exist out there. We're starting to see, especially with like the Man-A radios, Silvus persistent systems, guys are now starting to integrate their end user device, right, their cell phone into it. I didn't bring an example to demonstrate, but you know, like you talked about with there being like mesh radios that you guys use that you can text back and forth independent from cell service, it's similar in nature, right? Being able to text information and send things like images and video feeds, those are starting to exist as well.
You're adding a data layer.
Yep, exactly, right? A lot of professional end users are even going to stuff like this, right? So this is a Mohawk, but this isn't the standard model of Mohawk. This one is capable of live streaming via a Man-A radio, right? And that exists across, you know, the two big guys in the
Yeah, I've actually got a lot of experience with this.
Yeah.
If you go check out my OnlyFans, it's only $4.99 right now. I use one of these.
Yeah, exactly. So
We're serious business here.
I can tell. Yeah, so a lot of the professional end users, especially some of the really cool guys in our area that we know, they're using stuff like this as well, where they can have, you know, multiple video feeds of every single assaulter, you know, on like a SWAT team, all feeding their video feeds live to some incident command center as well. So yeah, there's a lot of professional stuff that exists out there. Again, not all this is going to be applicable to your consumer level customers out there, but being aware of it is still cool.
I mean, it could be if you want to spend the money.
If you want to spend the money,
You can buy all this stuff.
Yes,
if that's something
you
that
absolutely
do.
can.
If you want to set up your group of friends with stuff like this, you can get all these systems and set them up. I'm not going to say I wouldn't know why, because if I could do it, I would. But there is a, I guess, a barrier to entry there, and it is cost.
Sure.
And knowledge, of course. You would have to learn this stuff. But hey, hit up this guy. He can help you set it up.
Yeah, we'd be happy to help you out over at Mojave Repeater. If you guys have any questions, I'll hang out in the comments of this video. Feel free to drop some questions as well. But yeah, love all the stuff that you guys are...
One of my favorite things to do with those is to de-authenticate Girls Lush vibes.
Is that like a boy band?
No. These guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, with one of these, you know, database radios, you can actually de-authenticate their connection to their little remote control and reprogram it to blow up like Charlie Kirk's lapel mic. So, just a little piece of information there.
Where can people find more information about that?
Probably some of the people that you work for. Is there anything else we wanted to talk about?
No, I think
We got push to talks. Talked about radios. If you have any questions about this stuff, you know how to get a hold of us, but just for the new people, you can call the website. Our number's on there. Unfortunately, my phone rings 24/7. You can hit up any of the social medias and message us there, or you can email us, info@customnightvision. If you're looking to buy any of this stuff, go check out customnightvision.com. It's all on the website.
The newsletter as well.
Oh, and the newsletter. So, man, that's cool that you do he does the newsletter now.
Yeah.
So if you're getting those newsletter emails, Austin's the one putting those together. Years ago, that was something that I did, and I frequently forget that I passed the baton to this man. He does a much better job. So thank you for doing that.
Of course.
And thank you for being on the channel.
Thanks for having me.
We'll probably do more of this in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys want to see any more stuff like this, or if you don't, you never want to see me again, I'm sure they'll let us know in the comments. So
yeah, I don't think they're going to say that. But, yeah, we could do, put it in the comments. You want us to do another collab video? Let us know. We'll do it. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you on the next one.